Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to start with Geometry Chapter 1. And we will straight away go to understanding some basics. First of all, what is a point? What is a line? What is a plane? Then what do you mean by a segment? What do you mean by a ray? These are some basic things which you have already learned before. Okay, we will be touching upon this and then we'll go a step further. So, what do you mean by point? A dot. A dot is a point, but how do you represent it? How do you write it in maths? You say a dot, and besides that, you put a capital letter denoting name of that dot. So, what will be the name of this point? I will call it as point A. So, how many letters do you need to represent a point? One letter. Okay? So, point A, same way you can have point D, you can have point C, you can have point Q, and so on. Right? Alright. Let us come to line now. What is a line? Dot, 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 dot. You go on connecting one dot with the other just besides it. One besides the other, besides the other, besides the other. Just go on connecting the dots and you will realize that you have got a line. So what is a line? Line is basically a collection of points. It's a collection of indefinite number of points. So a line does not have a fixed starting point and it does not have a fixed ending point. How do you know it does not have a starting point and ending point? The way we represent it. How do we show it? We show an arrow on this side as well as an arrow on this side. Right? So we have arrow on either of the sides. That represents a line. So if I have to name it, I can call it line PQ. So how many letters do you need to represent a line? You need 2 letters. So I will read this as line PQ. But there is one more way of representing a line, and that is, let us say this is a line and I will write a small letter on one of the ends of the line. On one of the ends of the line. Yeah? So that small letter on one of the ends of the line will be the name of that line. So what will I call this? I will call this line L. Okay? Any small letter, single small letter at the end of the line, at any moment, either this side or that side, that's okay. Clear? So there are 2 ways of representing a line, calling a line. Okay? One is with the help of 2 letters like this, one at the beginning, one at somewhere at the end, and just name them PQ. Towards the end. There is no end of the line, I said. So you will be putting one point towards the beginning and one line towards the end. We don't have a beginning and an end in the line. So we can always say towards the beginning and towards the end. Alright? Fine. This is line L. Okay. So you've seen now how to name a line, how to represent a line in the book. Whenever somebody asks you draw a line, what would you say? You will say, sir, tell me the name of that line. Okay? Without the name, you just draw an arrow. It's just any line. But if you want a specific line, it should have a name. And how do you name it? Either in 2 letters like this or in 1 letter like this. Remember, when you name it in 2 letters, it's a capital letter. When you name it in 1 letter, it's a small letter. Is that clear? Fine. Now let's understand what is a plane. Understand carefully. A plane is nothing but a surface. Okay? A surface. A 2-dimensional surface is called a plane. 2-dimensional, meaning it has a length, it has a breadth. Anything that has a length and breadth, you call it as a plane. For example, this board is also a plane. This board is a plane. A plane can be in any angle. This wall is a plane. This ceiling is a plane. This ground is a plane. This table is a plane. Okay? Fine. So, I can make the plane slanting also. If supposing this board comes out like this way, still it is a plane. Only thing is the angle of the plane is changed. Okay? So, imagine a cloth, a sari, If you hold a sari like this, the sari will be one plane. Okay? You can change the angle of the sari 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree. So what you are doing, you are changing the angle of the plane. But it still remains a plane. Understood what is a plane? So, how do I represent a plane? I represent a plane by a four-sided figure like this. Okay? By a four-sided figure like this. But this is not complete. You have to have this is the complete representation of a plane. Meaning, there has to be a four-sided closed figure and there have to be arrows to indicate that it can expand on all the sides. So, just like a line can expand in two sides, a plane can extend in all the four sides. Okay? A line can extend this side also, this side also. Why? Because it does not have a beginning, does not have an end. Indefinite, infinite. A line is infinite on two sides. A plane is infinite on all four sides because it has four sides. Okay, so it is infinite, it is indefinite on all the four sides. That's called a plane. Okay, and a plane is also represented, you will be shocked, a plane is also represented by a single letter. You can call this as plane H. Plane H. Okay, so you can represent it by a single letter. Okay, fine. Now we go to a segment and a ray. So let's understand what a segment is. What is the difference between this figure and that figure? The difference is this has two letters, that also has two letters. What is the difference? The difference is this has arrows on both sides and that has got point on both sides. Is that clear? So, whenever there is a point on both sides means there is a fixed starting point A and there is a fixed ending point B. Clear? So, it has got a fixed starting point A and it has got a fixed starting ending point, that is point B. Clear? So, point A is the starting point, point B is the ending point. Can you reverse it? Can you say A is the starting point, B is the starting point and A is the ending point? Yes, you can. Okay, so it can be reversed as well. It doesn't matter for us whether we start from A or we start from B. If you start from B, A is your ending point. If you start from A, B is your ending point. Clear? Alright, so segment is basically also a collection of points just like the line. It is also a collection of points, but definite number of points. This is a collection of indefinite number of points, unending. This is a collection of definite number of points, means it has got an end. It has got a beginning and it has got an end. Yeah, that's the difference. How is it represented? Only in one manner, by two capital letters, one in the beginning, one in the end. That's the only way of representing a segment. Line is represented in two ways, but a segment is represented in one way. Is that clear? Now coming to a ray. What is a ray? So a ray is something like this. Again compare it. What is the difference between this and this? Here there are arrow on both sides. Here there is arrow only on one side. Right? Meaning it does not have an end. Right? But it has a beginning. So the starting point is fixed. Point P fixed. Ending point is not fixed. It can extend. It can go on and on and on. No ending. Clear? So a ray does not have a fixed end, but it does have a fixed starting point. Is that clear? That's called ray. Is that clear? How do you represent it? You represent it like this with two capital letters again. One at the starting point and one somewhere towards the end. Is that clear? How do you read this? You call it point A For example, this will be point A. How will you read this? Line PQ. How do you read this? Line L. This is plane H. How do you read this? Seg AB. Seg AB means segment AB. The short form of segment is seg, which we normally use in geometry. So seg AB means segment AB. Clear? How do you represent a ray? Again, ray PQ. Ray PQ. Now let me ask you one final question. A line PQ, can I write line QP? Yes. Arrow here, it doesn't matter which side you start. So you can call it line PQ or you can call line QP, no problem. Segment AB, can you call segment BA? Yes. As I told you, if this is the starting point, this is the ending point. If that is the starting point, this is the ending point. How does it matter? Both sides are same. Right? So you can call segment AB or you can call segment BA. Ray PQ, can you call it ray QP? No. You cannot call it ray QP. Why? The starting point is a dot, which is P. There is no fixed ending point which is towards the arrow, which is Q. If you reverse it, then the fixed starting point becomes Q, which is not correct. Your fixed starting point was P, right? How can it be Q? Correct? If you write Q here and P here, then the starting point becomes Q. So a ray is having a fixed direction. Line does not have a fixed direction. It goes here also, here also. A segment does not have any direction at all. Fixed. Correct? A ray has got a particular direction. Right? So what will you say? Which direction is this ray going? This direction. If the arrow is in this direction, means where is it going? This direction. Is that clear? So the arrow represents the direction in which the ray is moving, or the ray is flowing, or the ray is going. Is that clear? So these were the basics. Point, line and a plane. That's what we've understood. Clear? Now, having understood this, we will now understand what do you mean by distance? What do you mean by coordinates? Okay? Of a point. So, we go to the next step. Alright. Now, this is a number line. All of you know this is a number line. What is a number line again? It is a collection of points, indefinite number of points. Out of that, I select one point on the number line and I name it A. I select another point to the right of A and call it T. I select another point to the right of T and call it D. Same way, I select one point, call it F, another point C, here one point B, one point P, one point S, one point Q. So I go on selecting points and go on putting a letter associated with a letter. Okay, fine. I also do one more thing. Below this point, above you have written the letter, below this point I write 2. Here I write, let's say 0. Here I write -2, -4, -6, 4, 6, 8, 10. So what have I done? What is this representing? It is representing a number line with few points on it, selected points on it. See, there are indefinite number of points, right? It's a huge collection of points. Any line, it's a huge collection of points, indefinite collection of points. When you are drawing a number line and you are naming these points, means you are selecting few of those points. Okay? So you have selected here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points out of that line you have selected. Out of millions of points, you have selected these 9 points. Right? And there is some value, always there will be some value attached to a point. Every point will have a value, numerical value attached to it. And that numerical value is called coordinate of that point. Very important. Right? So this numerical value that you see is called coordinate of that particular point. So what is the coordinate of point B? 0. What is the coordinate of point F? 8. What is the coordinate of point Q? -6, and so on. So it's clear to you what is meant by a point, what is the name of that point, and what is the coordinate of that point. So what is the name of this point? T. What is the coordinate of that point? 4. What is the name of this point? S. What is the coordinate of that point? -4. Is that very clear? Understood what the coordinate is? Okay, good, great. Now let's understand what is distance and how do we find it. Distance between 2 points. Distance between 2 points. How do you find that? So how do you find and how do you represent? Both the things we have to see. So for example, I want to find the distance between P and T. So I want to find the distance between P and T. These are the 2 points. I want to find the distance between them. Alright. So how do I do that? I will say point P, the coordinate is -2. Coordinate is represented like this. So P coordinate is -2 and T coordinate is 4. Okay. You can also write in words. Coordinate of point P equals to -2. Coordinate of point P equals to 4. Right. So you can say coordinate of point P equals to -2. Coordinate of point T is equal to 4. Right? So coordinates are known. The first thing is you have to write the coordinates of the points between whom the distance you are finding. For example, you are finding the distance between P, T, right? You want to find the distance between P and T. So you should know the coordinates of P and the coordinate of T. So coordinate of P is -2. Whenever you have a negative number, -2, negative number, try to put it in a bracket, it is always safer. Okay? Then coordinate of point T is 4. Now you want to find distance. So how to find distance? How do you represent distance first? Distance is represented like this, pay attention. Small d, bracket open, first point which is P, comma, second point T, bracket closed. This is how you represent distance between 2 points. So, how do I read this? Distance between point P and T. D stands for distance, comma represents between. The comma will represent the word between. Distance between point P and point T. Okay, that's how you read it. So distance between point P and T is equal to greater coordinate minus smaller coordinate. That is the formula. Please pay attention. This is the formula. The distance between point P and T is equal to the coordinates subtracted greater minus smaller. Okay? Greater coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Is that clear? So, is equal to, what is the greater coordinate? Some of you might be confused how to find out which coordinate is greater. See, it's very simple. On a number line, whichever coordinate will fall to the right will be greater. Okay? Whichever coordinate will fall towards the right, comes toward the right, is the greater coordinate. For example, B is greater or A is greater? A is greater. Why? Because A lies to the right of B. B will not be greater. Why? Because B is to the left of A. Yeah? Next. D and C. Which is greater? C. Why? Because C lies to the right of B. Let's come here. Q and P. Q and P. Now it's tricky, right? Q and P. P is -2. Q is -6. Some of you might think 6 बड़ा होता है, करेक्ट? लेकिन माइनस जब होता है ना, तो छोटा नंबर ग्रेटर होता है माइनस में. Clear? So who will be greater? Q and P में who will be greater? P is going to be greater. Again the same logic which I told you. P lies to the right of Q. P lies to the right of Q, and that is why P is going to be greater than Q. Who is greater between S and P? -4, -2. Who is greater? -2, which is P. P will be greater than S. Between P and B, who is greater? B. Why? Because B lies to the right of P. Correct? Between S and F, who is greater? F, because F lies to the right of S. So F is greater. Understood how to calculate which coordinate is greater? How to know that? Good. So now between P and T, where is P? Here. Where is T? Here. Who will be greater? Obviously T. So what is the coordinate of T? 4 minus 2. What did I say? Greater coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Okay? The greater coordinate out of these two is 4. So 4 minus smaller coordinate, which is minus 2. Now how do you solve this mathematically? 4 remains 4, minus into minus becomes plus. So it becomes 4 plus 2, and 4 plus 2 gives you 6. So you will say, therefore, distance between P comma T equals to 6 units. 6 units. Not units, unit. 6 unit. Okay? So distance between P comma T is equal to 6 unit. This is how you find distance. Am I right? Clear? Okay, now what we'll do is, we'll quickly go to the exercise 1.1 and answer the questions based on this. Alright? Having understood this concept, tell me, I ask you in another way, like P and T, between P and T, what is the distance? The distance is 6. How? Because minus 2 to 0 is 2 units, and then 0 to 4 is 4 units, so total becomes 6 units. If I ask you directly a question, what is the distance between D and F? What will you say? 8 minus 6, 2. What is the distance between Q and P? Q and P, 0 and minus 6. So 0 minus 6, 6 units. 6 units. Clear? So mentally you can, in your mind itself, you can calculate what is the distance between the 2 points. It's very simple. Alright? So sometimes I can ask you a question. So I am asking you a question. Tell me which point is at a distance of 4 unit from point T. I want point which is at a distance of 4 units distance from point T. What will be your answer? Good, back. One catch. 4 units means 4 units on this side, it will be 8. 4 plus 4 on this side will be 8. So one answer is F, point F. But that's not all. There is one more answer. There is one more point. This side, 4 units. If you go 4 units, where will you reach? You will reach B. When you go 4 units this side, you will reach 8. When you come 4 units this side, you will reach 0. So point B also is the answer. So point B and point F, both of them are at a distance of 4 unit from T. Okay. So T is a point, and there is one point which is 4 unit this side, one point which is 4 unit this side. So there are 2 points and therefore 2 answers. Remember that. Okay. Just don't mark one answer in the exam. If that's the question, then remember there will be 2 points and there will be 2 answers, one on this side and one on the other side. Okay. Fine. Now let's understand, what do you mean by collinear points? Collinear points. Okay. What do you mean by collinear points? Points, let me take some example. I have taken around 7 points. Now these 4 points, I can pass a line through them, a straight line. I can pass a straight line through these 4 points. To these 2 points, again I can pass a line. Correct? Now, if I name this as P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. Now, what do you look? What do you find here? The point P, Q, R, S, all of them lie on the same straight line. So points which lie on the same straight line are called collinear points. The points which lie on the same straight line are called collinear points. And the points here, so P and U will also be collinear because they also lie on the same straight line. So U and T are collinear. P, Q, R, S are collinear. Now let me ask you a question. Is P, Q, U collinear? P, Q, U. Are they collinear? No. Why? P, Q lies on the same straight line but U is on somewhere else. So I cannot say P, Q, U is collinear. Same way, can I say T, U, V is collinear? No. T, U is collinear but V is somewhere else, not on the same straight line. So I cannot say T, U, V is collinear. Okay? By the way, whenever you talk of collinear points, minimum there should be 3 points. Why? Why? Not because 2 points cannot be collinear. 2 points are always collinear. If you have 2 points, collinear, 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 collinear. So if you have 2 points, they will always be collinear. You don't have to find, you don't have to think. 2 points are always collinear. Is that clear? You have to think only when there are more than 2 points. For example, here there were 4 points. Then you have to think, do they lie on the same straight line? Yes, then they are collinear. I can say, I can have 4 points like this also. I can have 4 points like this also. Now, see? Now, these 4 points, are they lying on the same straight line? No, they are lying on different lines. Will they be collinear? No. Clear? So here I have 4 points which are collinear, but here I have again 4 points which are not collinear. So you understood the difference between collinear points and non-collinear points? Great. Okay. Now you can understand the property of betweenness. So what is the betweenness property? Property of betweenness. The property of betweenness means if I have 3 collinear points, okay, I have 3 collinear points, let us say A, C, F. Which are the 3 collinear points I have selected? Point A, point C, point F. Why are they collinear? Because they are lying on the same straight line. That's why they are collinear. Okay? So all 3 points are lying on the same straight line, and that is why I will say the 3 points are collinear. What does the property of betweenness say? The betweenness property says that if this is the situation, then distance between A and F will always be equal to distance between A and C plus distance between C and F. Okay? So if A, C, F are collinear points and C lies between A and F, then if this happens, then this will automatically happen. That is what it says. So what is the betweenness property? If A, C, F or any 3 points of your choice you can take. Here I have taken A, C, F. If A, C, F are collinear points and C lies between A and F, you can see C lies between A and F, C is in the between. So if C is in between, then the distance between A and F, the distance between point A and F will always be equal to this part plus this part, distance between A and C plus distance between C and F. So what are you doing basically? 2 sticks lying side by side, what is the total length of the stick? First part of the stick plus second part of the stick, that will give you total length of the stick. That is what you are saying. That is what is betweenness. Yeah? So this is the betweenness property you have to remember very carefully, thoroughly. Alright? Now tell me one thing. Betweenness property is applicable to collinear points only. True or false? True. Betweenness property will be applicable only to collinear points. Betweenness cannot be applicable to non-collinear points. What type of points are ACF? Collinear. If they are collinear, then only betweenness is applicable. Remember that. This property you will use it in your chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, don't know where all, in standard 10th. It's a very, very important property. N number of times in geometry you will come across situations where you will be using the betweenness property. Okay, clear? Now, I have written two statements here. What is that? A, C, F are collinear points, that is statement number 1. C lies between A and F, that is statement number 2. These two statements can be written in shortcut also, in a very short manner. What is that shortcut method of writing? This is the shortcut method of writing. What is it? A dash C dash F. You wrote two statements here. Those two statements can be written in a very short manner, like this. This and these two statements mean the same in geometry. So in geometry, whenever you come across situations like this, it means these two statements. So for example, if I am telling you P dash Q dash R, what does this mean? This means points P, Q, R are collinear, statement number 1, and Q lies between P and R, statement number 2. Okay, so P dash Q dash R means P, Q, R are collinear points and Q lies between P and R. Similarly, if I say S dash P dot C, S dash P dash C, what will this mean? S, T, C are collinear points and T lies between S and C. Oh, done. Alright? Yeah? Fine. Now, with this much explanation, you can very easily do exercise 1.1 and you can also partly do exercise 1.2. Alright? Now, let's move ahead. The next part. Let us understand what do you mean by length of a segment. Length of a segment. Then we will understand what do you mean by congruent segments. Congruent segments. And we will also see what is meant by midpoint of a segment. Okay, so now we focus our attention on segment. What do you mean by length of a segment? What do you mean by congruent segments? And what do you mean by midpoint of a segment? Let's understand. So length of a segment, very simple. If you have a segment, I told you how a segment is represented. Starting dot, ending dot, name of the beginning, name of the ending point. So what I call this as segment PQ, correct? I will call it as seg PQ, right? How do I represent length of segment PQ? What do I have to write? Length of segment PQ. So length of segment means length of segment PQ I will write like this, LPQ. How will I write it? Small l, bracket, and the name of the segment PQ, LPQ. LPQ matlab length of segment PQ. How to read it? Length of segment PQ. So what is length of segment PQ? I have simply keep the ruler 0 at P, see how much Q is. So meaning what I am saying is you will keep a ruler like this. Okay, your ruler you keep it like this. This is 0 of the ruler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and blah blah blah. Right? So where is the starting point? At 0. Where is the ending point? 6. So what is the length of the segment PQ? 6 centimeter. The length of the segment PQ is 6 centimeter. This is how you take length of a segment. Clear? You take the ruler, keep the 0 at one of the points and then see where is the other point reaching. That is how you measure a segment. Alright? Measurement of a segment is generally done in centimeters and millimeters, because in your scale you have got centimeter, you have got millimeter, you have also got inches. Inches also you can measure, but that's not the practice that we use. We generally measure it in millimeter or centimeter. Is that clear? Okay. So this is read as length of segment PQ is equal to 6 centimeter. Is that clear? Now let's understand what is meant by congruent segments. Congruent segments means you have more segments, then only you can compare. So now you're comparing segments, right? So if I have one segment here, I call it AB. So this is segment AB, and I have one more segment here, calling it as SQ. AB, SQ. Is that clear? So this is segment AB and this is segment SQ. Let us measure this. Keep a ruler, measure it the way you did for this. Supposing the length comes out to be 5 centimeter. Now you measured SQ. Took a ruler, kept the 0 at S, found out where Q lies, and you found this is also 5 centimeter. If that happens, meaning if the length of two segments is equal, then the segments are congruent. You understood what are congruent segments? If the length of two segments are equal, then we say that those segments are congruent. So here I will say segment AB is congruent to segment SQ. What will I say? Segment AB is congruent. The symbol for congruent is, this is the symbol for congruent. So segment AB is congruent to segment SQ. Okay, this is how congruent word is represented. So this is again a new symbol which you have now learned. Is that clear? So how to represent congruence? This is how you represent congruence. So segment AB is congruent to segment SQ means what? The length of segment AB and the length of segment SQ are equal. That is what it means. Is that clear? Congruent segments is fine, clear? Now let's go to the last part, that is midpoint of a segment. What do you mean by midpoint of a segment? Midpoint of a segment means if you have got a segment PQ which is having length, let's say 8 centimeter. So what is the length of PQ? 8 centimeter. Between P and Q, I repeat, between P and Q, if you select any point called S such that, I repeat, you had a segment PQ, between P and Q, you select a point S such that length of PS is equal to length of SQ is equal to half of 8. Meaning this part PS is equal to this part SQ. Both are equal. Length of PS, length of SQ is same, meaning 4 centimeter, 4 centimeter. Half of 8. Total is 8. Half of 8 means 4, 4. Then such a point S will be called as midpoint of that segment. So what do you mean by midpoint of a segment? A point lying on a segment, which divides the segment into two equal halves is called the midpoint of the segment. So what is the midpoint of the segment? A point lying on the segment which divides the segment into two equal halves is called midpoint of the segment. So here point S is dividing into 4 equal parts, right? So we will call S as the midpoint. Correct? So here point S is the midpoint of segment PQ. Clear? So total length is 8, but each part will be 4. Alright? Half of it. Now I ask you one question. Supposing I don't give you the full length and I give you the part length. I say this is AB, this is C. C is the midpoint, okay? C is the midpoint. AC is 3 centimeter. Now I want to know what is the total length of AB. Simple. What is the total length of AB? Simple, right? How? If this is 3, how much would this be? 3. So what is the total? 6. So length of AB is 6 centimeter. Is that clear? So the full part is double of the half part. So each part is going to be half of the full. The full is going to be double of the half. Simple? That logic is very simple. Okay, so having understood this, now you can also complete exercise 1.2 completely. Okay, so 1.1 and 1.2, let's see how to do it. Alright, fine.